Madison's eyes burned red, tears threatening to spill as she pressed her back against the cold brick wall. 3 figures loomed over her, their shadows stretching across the empty parking lot like dark fingers reaching for prey. "We're live, baby, Connor." Walsh held his phone high, the screen's glow illuminating his excited face. 200 viewers already watching the show. Tyler Morrison stepped closer, his Letterman jacket catching the afternoon sun. The golden boy of Westfield High. Quarterback. Son of the most powerful man in Denver's education system. His perfect smile had turned predatory. "Nowhere to run now, Virginia girl," Tyler said, his voice smooth as honey laced with venom. "You should have just said yes." Madison's hands trembled as she reached for her backpack. The weight of it, her father's old military bag, gave her strength, but her fingers found only empty space where her pepper spray should have been. 2 weeks earlier, everything had been different. Madison Hayes had walked through Westfield High's grand entrance with hope flickering in her chest. Another new school, another fresh start. The 16th in her 16 years of life. Thanks to her father's military career. The hallways smelled of fresh paint and privilege. Students moved in carefully choreographed groups, each knowing their place in the social hierarchy. Madison had navigated enough schools to recognize the patterns immediately. The athletes by the trophy cases, the artists near the music rooms, the wealthy kids everywhere, their designer clothes and easy confidence marking them as untouchable. She'd kept her head down that first week, found her classes, ate lunch alone by the library windows, avoided eye contact with the boys who whistled when she passed. Madison had perfected the art of being invisible in new schools. It was safer that way. But Tyler Morrison didn't believe in invisible. The moment that changed everything had happened on a Tuesday. Madison sat in the cafeteria, reading a worn paperback, when the noise level suddenly dropped. 500 students fell silent as Tyler Morrison climbed onto a lunch table, his football buddies forming a circle around him. "Madison Hayes!" His voice boomed across the room. Every head turned. Madison's stomach dropped. She looked up from her book, hoping desperately he meant some other Madison. Tyler's blue eyes locked onto hers. "Will you go to homecoming with me?" The cafeteria held its breath. Madison could feel the weight of 500 stares, could hear the whispers starting at distant tables. The new girl, the nobody, being asked out by Tyler Morrison. She stood slowly, her father's voice echoing in her mind. "Never show fear, baby girl. Bullies feed on fear." "Thanks," Madison said, her voice carrying clearly across the silent room. But no, the word hung in the air like a slap. Someone gasped. A girl at the cheerleader table dropped her water bottle. It hit the floor with a crack that sounded like thunder. Tyler's perfect smile flickered. For just a moment. Something dark passed behind his eyes. Then he laughed. But the sound was hollow. "Did you just say no to me?" Madison picked up her book and her bag. "I did. Have a nice day, Tyler." She walked out of the cafeteria with her head high, but her legs shook with each step. Behind her, the room exploded into chaos. No one had ever said no to Tyler Morrison. No one. By the time Madison reached her locker, her phone was already buzzing. Unknown numbers, Instagram notifications, Snapchat requests. She ignored them all, but a sick feeling settled in her stomach. She'd broken an unspoken rule at Westfield High, and there would be consequences. The harassment started small. Her Instagram, with its modest 73 followers, suddenly had hundreds of comments on every photo. Stuck-up bitch thinks she's too good for Tyler. Ugly Virginia trash. You'll regret this. Madison deleted her account that night. But it didn't matter. Screenshot of her photos appeared on anonymous accounts. Someone had photoshopped her face onto inappropriate images. The captions grew more vicious by the hour. The next morning, her locker bore a new decoration. "Stuck-up bitch," spray painted in red across the metal. Madison stood there for a long moment, staring at the words while students walked past. Some smirked. Some looked away. No one helped. She found cleaning supplies in the janitor's closet and spent 20 minutes scrubbing the paint away. Her hands were raw and red by the time she finished. But she wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her cry. Tyler and his crew watched from down the hall. Connor filmed everything on his phone, while Mason Richards and Jake Turner flanked Tyler like bodyguards. When Madison finally looked their way, Tyler blew her a kiss. "Having a rough morning, Virginia?" he called out. Madison said nothing. She closed her locker and walked to class. But she could feel their eyes following her. The hunter marking his prey. That afternoon, she sought help from the only adult she thought might listen. Mrs. Johnson, the guidance counselor, sat behind her desk with its motivational posters and candy bowl, her smile never quite reaching her eyes. "Boys will be boys, honey," Mrs. Johnson said, patting Madison's hand. "Tyler's a good kid from a good family. I'm sure this will blow over if you just, well, maybe apologize. Tell him you were nervous. Apologize for saying no to a date." Mrs. Johnson's smile tightened. "Sometimes it's easier to just go along. Dear, the Morrisons are very important to this school. Tyler's father donates so much to our programs." Madison left the office feeling smaller than when she'd entered. The system wasn't broken. It was working exactly as designed, protecting the powerful and crushing anyone who dared to challenge them. That evening, Tyler sat in his father's home office. Richard Morrison stood behind his massive oak desk, his presence filling the room like smoke. "I heard you asked out the new girl," his father said, swirling bourbon in a crystal glass. "She said no." Tyler's jaw clenched. "In front of everyone." Richard Morrison took a slow sip. "No one disrespects a Morrison. Son, no one. What are you going to do about it?" "I'm handling it. Handle it better." His father's voice was ice. "Your reputation is my reputation. Our family's reputation. Don't disappoint me." Tyler left the office with his father's words burning in his ears. He pulled out his phone and opened the group chat. "Meeting tomorrow. Time to turn up the heat." Madison discovered her slashed gym bag during third period PE. Her clothes were scattered across the locker room floor, some torn, others missing. But it was what hung from the shower rod that made her stomach turn. Her sports bra and underwear, displayed like trophies. She heard the giggling before she saw them. 3 girls from the cheerleading squad stood in the doorway, phones out, recording her humiliation. "Aw, did someone have an accident?" Brittany cooed. "Maybe you should transfer back to whatever trailer park you came from." Madison gathered her destroyed belongings with shaking hands. She wouldn't run, she wouldn't cry, not in front of them. But when she finally made it to a bathroom stall, she let the tears fall. Her phone buzzed relentlessly. 47 messages from unknown numbers. She opened one. "You're dead after school, Savannah. Savannah Price, Tyler's ex-girlfriend. Madison had seen her around school, always walking with her head down. Always alone, despite having once been queen of Westfield High. The bathroom door creaked open. Madison held her breath, expecting another attack. Instead, she heard quiet sobbing from the next stall. "Madison," a whisper. "It's Savannah. Don't come out yet. They might be watching." "Did you send that text?" "I was trying to warn you." Savannah's voice cracked. "Tyler's planning something after school. You need to leave early. Take the back exit by the gym." "Why are you helping me?" Silence stretched between the stalls. Then Savannah spoke, her words barely audible, "Because he did the same thing to me last year. And worse. No one believed me." The stall door opened. Savannah stood there, her designer clothes perfect, but her eyes hollow. She held out her phone, showing Madison a hidden folder of photos, bruises on arms, a black eye covered with makeup, screenshots of threatening messages. "Document everything," Savannah whispered. "Take pictures. Save messages. Record if you can. It's the only way anyone will believe you." "Why didn't you—" "His father owns half the school board. My parents said I was being dramatic. Said I should be grateful someone like Tyler even noticed me." Yeah, Savannah's laugh was bitter. "I tried to kill myself 3 months ago. That's when they finally let me break up with him." Madison reached out and squeezed Savannah's hand. "I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry. Be smart. And whatever you do, don't be alone after school." But Madison had debate practice until 4. By the time she finished, the parking lot had emptied except for a few scattered cars. She walked quickly, keys between her fingers like her father had taught her. That's when she noticed the silence. No birds, no distant traffic. Just the sound of her own footsteps on asphalt. A hand grabbed her backpack, yanking her backward. She spun around to find Jake Turner grinning at her. "Going somewhere." Mason Richards appeared on her left, Connor Walsh on her right, phone already recording, and stepping out from behind a van, Tyler Morrison himself. "Told you we needed to talk," Tyler said, cracking his knuckles. "About respect, about knowing your place." Well, Madison backed up until she hit the wall. 3 escape routes, all blocked. Her hand fumbled for her pepper spray, but the pocket was empty. Of course, they'd been in her bag. 200 viewers already, Connor announced gleefully. "They're loving this." "Bro," Tyler stepped closer. Close enough that Madison could smell his expensive cologne mixed with the mint gum he always chewed. "Here's what's going to happen," he said, his voice calm and controlled. "You're going to apologize, on camera. You're going to say you were wrong to disrespect me, that you're just a nobody who forgot her place. And if I don't," Tyler's smile was cold, "then things get worse. And trust me, Virginia, you haven't seen worse yet. My dad owns this town. One phone call, and your mom loses her job at the hospital. Another call, and your lease gets terminated. We can make your life hell." Madison's mind raced. 200 people watching live. Connor's phone capturing everything. This was it. The moment everything would change. "You want to know what my dad taught me?" Madison asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Tyler laughed. "What? How to pack boxes? How to run away to another state?" "No." Madison's hand moved to her jacket pocket. The backup her father had insisted on. "Never keep all your defense in one place. He taught me that bullies are always the same. They're cowards who need audiences and backup to feel strong. Big talk for, and he taught me this." Madison pulled out the small canister. "Aim, sweep, Run! Tyler's eyes widened. You won't. The pepper spray hit him directly in the face. Tyler screamed, stumbling backward, clawing at his eyes. The sound was primal, all pretense of control gone. Holy shit! Connor kept filming, too shocked to help. Holy shit, she actually did it. Mason moved toward her, but Madison swept the spray in an arc, catching him in the crossfire. He went down cursing. Jake backed away, hands up. Madison's hands shook as she pulled out her phone and dialed 3 numbers. 911. I'm at Westfield High School parking lot. I was just assaulted by 3 male students and defended myself. It's all being broadcast live on Instagram. Please send help. The live stream comments exploded. Hearts and fire emojis flooded the screen. Queen. Get him. Finally, someone stood up. Connor finally seemed to realize what he was broadcasting. Tyler Morrison, golden boy of Westfield High, sobbing on the ground, snot running down his face, completely helpless. He fumbled to end the stream, but it was too late. 5,000 viewers. The video already being screen-recorded and shared. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Madison stood against the wall, pepper spray still in her hand, watching her attackers writhe on the ground. By the way, she said to Connor's phone before he shut it off, my name is Madison Hayes. I'm from Virginia, and I'm not going anywhere. The first police car pulled into the parking lot, lights flashing red and blue across Tyler's tear-stained face. Madison could already see more cars coming. Parents, media, the whole world about to descend on Westfield High. She thought about Savannah, hiding in bathroom stalls, about all the girls who had come before, silenced by power and money and fear, about her father, teaching her to stand straight and never back down. The pepper spray was warm in her hand. Such a small thing to change everything. But that's how it always worked, wasn't it? One person saying no, one person refusing to play along, one person standing up when everyone else knelt down. Officer Martinez approached carefully, taking in the scene. 3 boys on the ground, 1 girl standing tall, hundreds of witnesses online. Miss, I'm going to need you to put the spray down and tell me what happened. Madison set the canister on the ground slowly, keeping her hands visible. Of course, officer. But first, you should know it's all on video. Every single second. In his home office, Richard Morrison's phone rang incessantly. School board members, other parents, his lawyer. He watched his son's humiliation spread across social media like wildfire. The Morrison name trending for all the wrong reasons. At the police station, Madison gave her statement while her mother held her hand. The evidence was overwhelming. Connor's live stream, the weeks of documented harassment, Savannah's courage in coming forward, more girls finding their voices. As the sun set over Denver, Madison Hayes sat in a small interview room, telling her truth. She didn't know yet that the video would have 10 million views by morning, that Tyler would face assault charges, that Westfield High would never be the same. All she knew was that she'd found her voice, and she wasn't going to be silenced again. But the war for Westfield High was just beginning. The fluorescent lights of the police station buzzed overhead as Madison finished giving her statement. Her mother, Sarah Hayes, sat beside her, one hand protectively on her daughter's shoulder. Across the table, Detective Chen typed carefully, documenting every detail. The live stream has been saved as evidence, Detective Chen said. sliding a tablet across the table. 5,342 viewers watched Tyler Morrison and his friends corner you. The comments are illuminating. Madison watched herself on the screen, saw the moment she pulled out the pepper spray. Even knowing how it ended, her heart raced. The comments scrolled by in a blur. Finally, Tyler had this coming. She's my hero. There's more, Madison said quietly. She reached into her backpack and pulled out a small device. Mr. Rodriguez, my history teacher, gave me this after the locker incident, told me to document everything. Her mother's eyes widened. You've been recording just for protection. After what Savannah told me, Madison connected the device to the detective's computer. 3 weeks of footage, every threat, every attack, everything. The first video played, Tyler and his crew breaking into her locker, going through her things, laughing as they planned their next move. The detective's expression darkened with each clip. Outside the police station, news vans were already gathering. Someone had leaked that Tyler Morrison, son of school board president Richard Morrison, was at the center of a viral assault video. The story was spreading faster than anyone could control it. At Westfield High, Principal Edwards's phone hadn't stopped ringing. Parents demanding answers. Board members demanding explanations. His secretary knocked on his door, face pale. Sir, Channel 7 is here, and Channel 9, and basically everyone. Principal Edwards loosened his tie. 20 years of carefully managing the Morrison family's influence, and it was all unraveling because one girl had said no. By 10 p.m., the video had 2 million views. Madison Strong was trending nationwide. News outlets picked up the story, Colorado girl pepper sprays alleged attackers in viral video. School board president's son accused of assault. The live stream that changed everything. Sarah Hayes turned off the television in their small apartment. Maybe we should leave. Start fresh somewhere else. Madison shook her head. No, Mom, not this time. I'm done running. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Madison tensed, expecting another threat. Instead, thank you for being brave. He hurt me too. Jessica. Then another, Tyler did the same thing to me freshman year. Anonymous. And another, I have screenshots from when he harassed me. Kate. By midnight, Madison had received 43 messages from girls at Westfield High, each with their own story, their own evidence, their own pain that had been silenced for too long. The next morning, Westfield High looked like a war zone. News vans lined the street. Parents clustered in angry groups. Students stood divided, Team Tyler versus Team Madison. Though the balance was shifting by the hour, Madison arrived with a police escort, walking through the front doors with her head high. Whispers followed her down the hallway. But now they were different, respectful, awed. That's her. She actually did it. Did you see Tyler's face in the video? At his locker, Tyler Morrison stood surrounded by lawyers. His eyes were still red and swollen, his usual confident swagger replaced by something brittle and desperate. When he saw Madison, his face contorted with rage. "You ruined my life!" he shouted across the hallway. Madison stopped, turned, and looked him straight in the eye. "No, Tyler, you did that yourself." Connor Walsh watched from down the hall, his own phone heavy in his pocket. The live stream had been his idea, a way to humiliate the girl who'd rejected his best friend. But watching it back, seeing himself laughing while Madison cowered against the wall, something had shifted inside him. The emergency PTA meeting was scheduled for that evening. The auditorium filled to capacity, parents and students packing every seat. Richard Morrison sat at the board table, his expensive suit immaculate, but his face showing the strain. Principal Edwards opened the meeting, his voice shaking. "We're here to address the incident that occurred yesterday. Incident." A woman stood up in the crowd. Madison recognized her as Jessica's mother. "Your star quarterback assaulted a student. On live stream. That's not an incident. That's a crime." The room erupted. Parents shouting over each other. Some defending Tyler, claiming Madison had overreacted. Others sharing their own daughters' stories. Years of harassment finally coming to light. Richard Morrison grabbed the microphone. "This is a witch hunt. My son made one mistake. One mistake." Savannah Price stood up, her voice carrying across the chaos. "Tell them about last year, Mr. Morrison. Tell them about the bruises your son left on me. Tell them how you paid my parents to keep quiet." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Savannah's parents tried to pull her down, but she shook them off. "I have photos," Savannah continued. "Medical records, text messages where Tyler said his dad would destroy my family if I talked." She looked directly at Richard Morrison. "But I'm done being afraid." More girls stood up, one by one, sharing their stories. The cheerleader who quit the squad after Tyler cornered her at a party. The sophomore who transferred schools mid-year. The freshman who still had nightmares. Madison watched from her seat, surrounded by the girls who'd messaged her. She hadn't asked for this, hadn't wanted to be anyone's hero. But sometimes standing up for yourself meant standing up for everyone. Connor Walsh sat in the back row, his stomach churning. He'd been there for some of it, watched Tyler pressure girls, laughed along, kept filming. The weight of his complicity sat heavy on his chest. The meeting descended into chaos. Richard Morrison tried to maintain control, but the dam had broken. Parents demanded Tyler's expulsion, called for investigations. Some even mentioned lawsuits. Mrs. Johnson, the guidance counselor, tried to speak. "These are all allegations. I have emails." Mr. Rodriguez interrupted, standing up. "Emails where you told me to ignore reports about Tyler, where you said, and I quote, 'The Morrison family is too important to antagonize.'" By the end of the meeting, 3 board members had resigned. Principal Edwards announced a full investigation, and Richard Morrison had stormed out, his empire crumbling. The next morning brought the inevitable. Police cars in the school parking lot. Tyler Morrison arrested on charges of assault, criminal harassment, and conspiracy. The image of him in handcuffs, being led past the trophy case that bore his name, would become the photo that defined the story. Connor Walsh made his decision watching his best friend get arrested. He walked into the police station that afternoon with a USB drive. "I want to make a statement," he told Detective Chen. "I have videos, not just from yesterday, from the past 2 years. Everything Tyler did. Everything I helped him do." The detective studied him carefully. "You understand, you are potentially implicating yourself." Connor nodded. "I know, but Madison was right. We were cowards. And I'm done being a coward." The evidence Connor provided was damning. Videos of Tyler targeting girls, planning harassment campaigns, bragging about his father's protection, even discussing drugging drinks at parties. Though Connor swore they'd never actually done it. Westfield High implemented sweeping changes within a week. Security cameras in all hallways, an anonymous reporting app for harassment, mandatory consent and respect workshops, zero-tolerance policies that applied to everyone, regardless of their last name. Mrs. Johnson was suspended pending investigation. Mr. Rodriguez was promoted to vice principal. The trophy case was reorganized. Tyler's achievements removed. Madison found herself at the center of a movement she'd never intended to start. Girls approached her in the hallways, sharing their gratitude. Boys nodded respectfully, understanding that the old rules no longer applied. But fame wasn't what Madison wanted. She turned down interview requests from major networks, declined offers to write a book. All she wanted was to finish high school in peace. 3 weeks after the incident, Madison sat in the cafeteria with an unexpected group. Savannah Price on her left, finally eating lunch instead of hiding. Jessica and Kate across from her. Even some boys who'd distanced themselves from Tyler's toxic influence. "Did you see?" Savannah showed her phone. Berkeley and Notre Dame both rescinded Tyler's scholarship offers. Madison felt no satisfaction in Tyler's downfall, just sadness for what could have been if someone had stopped him earlier, if the system hadn't enabled him for so long. "His family's moving," Kate added. "My mom works at the real estate office. They listed their house yesterday." The Morrison family empire in Denver was finished. Richard Morrison had resigned from the school board in disgrace. His business partners distanced themselves. The family that had once ruled Westfield with money and influence was leaving in shame. Tyler's final court appearance drew massive media coverage. He stood before the judge, no longer the golden boy, but a cautionary tale. His lawyer negotiated a plea deal: probation, community service, mandatory therapy, and registration as a sex offender. But it was Tyler's statement that surprised everyone. Standing in court, voice breaking, he finally showed genuine emotion. "I was raised to believe Morrisons don't lose," he said, reading from prepared notes. "My father taught me that power meant taking what you want, that money could fix any problem. I hurt people because I could, because no one ever told me no." He looked at Madison, who sat in the gallery. "You were the first person who stood up to me, and I hated you for it. But you were right. I was a coward." The judge sentenced him, and Tyler Morrison walked out of court a different person than he'd entered. Whether he'd truly change remained to be seen. But the boy who'd terrorized Westfield High was gone. 6 months passed. Westfield High had transformed. The culture of fear and silence replaced by one of respect and accountability. Madison Hayes was no longer the new girl, but a respected leader, though she wore the title reluctantly. She taught self-defense classes after school now, showing other girls what her father had taught her, not just the physical moves, but the mental strength, the importance of standing your ground. "Remember," she told her class, demonstrating a defensive stance, "the best fight is the one you avoid, but if you can't avoid it, you make sure you win." One afternoon, as Madison walked to her car, she found someone waiting. Connor Walsh stood nervously by her driver's door, hands in his pockets. "Madison, can we talk?" She tensed but nodded. Connor had testified against Tyler, had provided crucial evidence, but she'd never spoken to him directly. "I wanted to apologize," Connor said, the words tumbling out, "not just for that day, but for everything. For filming when I should have helped, for laughing when I should have spoken up, for being part of the problem." Madison studied him. "Why now?" Because I watched that live stream back 100 times, saw myself laughing while you were terrified, saw what we'd become. His voice cracked. My little sister started high school this year. The thought of someone doing to her what we did to you, I can't live with myself. He pulled out his phone, showing her his Instagram. I've been speaking at schools, telling them about how easy it is to become a bully when you're trying to fit in, about how being a bystander makes you just as guilty. The account had thousands of followers. Videos of Connor speaking to auditoriums full of students, sharing his story of complicity and redemption. I know it doesn't undo anything, Connor continued, but maybe if I can stop one kid from making my mistakes. Madison felt something shift in her chest, the anger she'd carried beginning to ease. Thank you for trying to make it right. Connor nodded and started to leave, then turned back. You changed everything. You know, not just at Westfield. The whole state is implementing new anti-bullying policies. Other schools are using our story as a teaching tool. You gave everyone permission to say no. As he walked away, Madison realized he was right. She'd never intended to start a movement. She'd just wanted to be left alone. But sometimes, the most powerful revolutions begin with one person refusing to comply. Her phone buzzed. A message from her father, deployed overseas. Saw the news finally. Proud of you. Baby girl, you remembered everything I taught you. Madison smiled, typing back. Actually, Dad, I learned something you didn't teach me. Sometimes the spray is mightier than the sword. That evening, Madison sat with her mother watching the news. Another school, this time in Texas, had implemented the Madison Protocol, a comprehensive anti-bullying program inspired by Westfield High's transformation. You did that, her mother said softly. You changed things. Madison shook her head. I just said no. Everyone else did the changing. But as she prepared for bed, Madison allowed herself a moment of pride. She thought about Savannah, now thriving and headed to art school, about the girls who walked the halls without fear, about Connor, turning his guilt into purpose. Her phone lit up with one final message, an unknown number, but somehow she knew who it was before opening it. Madison, this is Tyler. I know I have no right to contact you. My lawyer says I shouldn't, but I wanted you to know I'm in therapy, real therapy, and for the first time, I understand what I did, what I was. I'm sorry, not expecting forgiveness, just wanted you to know. I'm trying to be better. Madison stared at the message for a long time. Then she deleted it. Some bridges were meant to stay burned, but maybe, just maybe, even Tyler Morrison could change. That had to count for something. The next morning, Madison walked into Westfield High for another ordinary day. Students chatted in groups that would have never mixed before. Teachers supervised with new vigilance. The trophy case displayed achievements of all students, not just athletes. In her first period class, Madison noticed a new student sitting alone. Another military kid. She could tell by the posture, the way they observed everything before engaging. After class, Madison approached them. Hey, I'm Madison. Welcome to Westfield. The new student looked surprised. Thanks, I'm Jordan. Just transferred from Fort Hood. Military brat? Madison asked with a knowing smile. Yeah, you too. Was, but I'm staying here now. Westfield's home. Madison gestured to the hallway. Want me to show you around, and Jordan, just so you know, this school's different now. You can be yourself here. No one's going to make you feel like you don't belong. As they walked down the hall together, Madison felt the truth of her words. Westfield High had become what every school should be, A place where students could learn without fear, where standing up for yourself wasn't revolutionary but expected. Her father had taught her to defend herself physically, but Westfield had taught her something more powerful. Sometimes, one person standing up at the right moment could topple empires of silence. Sometimes saying no when everyone expected yes could change the world. Madison Hayes had come to Denver as just another new girl in just another school. She would graduate as the girl who changed everything, not with violence or anger, but with two simple words that echoed through history. Thanks, but no. And in schools across the country, other girls were finding their voices. Other bullies were learning consequences. Other bystanders were choosing courage. The revolution had begun with pepper spray in a parking lot, but it would continue with something far more powerful: hope. The graduation cap felt heavy on Madison's head as she stood backstage at the Denver Convention Center. Outside, 3,000 people waited to hear her speak. Her mother sat in the front row, tissue already in hand. Beside her, an empty chair with a photo: Master Sergeant David Hayes, who couldn't make it home from deployment but watched via live stream. 5 minutes, Miss Hayes, the event coordinator whispered. Madison looked at her note cards one final time, then slipped them into her pocket. She wouldn't need them. This story lived in her bones now. The announcer's voice boomed through the speakers. Please welcome Time Magazine's Teen of the Year, Madison Hayes. The applause was thunderous as Madison walked onto the stage. The crowd, students, parents, teachers, activists, rose to their feet. She waited for them to settle, remembering another moment when a room fell silent for her. But this silence was different. This was respect, not fear. A year ago, Madison began, her voice steady and clear. I was just another military kid starting at another new school. I wanted to be invisible. I wanted to survive until the next move. I never wanted to be standing here. She paused, scanning the audience. In the third row, she spotted Savannah Price, now a freshman at art school, her paintings raising awareness about abuse. Connor Walsh sat near the back, surrounded by students from his anti-bullying nonprofit. But sometimes life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what the world needs, and apparently, the world needed a 16-year-old girl with pepper spray and a backbone to say enough. Laughter rippled through the crowd, breaking the tension. People call me brave, Madison continued. But I wasn't brave. I was terrified. When Tyler Morrison and his friends cornered me in that parking lot, I thought my life was over. The only reason I stood my ground was because backing down wasn't an option anymore. She thought of her father's lessons, of all the schools she'd attended, all the bullies she'd avoided until she couldn't. The real heroes are the girls who came forward after, who shared their stories despite the risk, who refused to let shame silence them anymore. Savannah, Jessica, Kate, and dozens of others. They're the brave ones. Madison pulled out her phone, holding it up. This device that was used to humiliate and harass became our weapon of truth. Connor Walsh thought he was live-streaming my destruction. Instead, he broadcast the beginning of change. She looked directly at Connor, who nodded, tears streaming down his face. Tyler Morrison is in therapy now. His family moved away. Some say his life was ruined, but I think his life was saved. Saved from becoming an even worse version of himself. Saved from hurting more people. Sometimes rock bottom is the only foundation strong enough to rebuild on. The auditorium was silent. 3,000 people hanging on every word. I've been asked what I want people to take from my story. It's simple. You don't need to be special to stand up to wrong. You don't need to be perfect, or popular, or powerful. You just need to be done. Done accepting. Done hiding. Done letting fear win. Madison's voice rose with passion. Every school has its Tyler Morrisons, every workplace, every community. People who've been taught that power means permission, that money means immunity, that strength means taking what you want. She smiled then, thinking of her father's pride, her mother's strength, her own journey. But every place also has its Madisons, people ready to say no, ready to spray pepper in the face of injustice, ready to stand up even when standing up means standing alone. The crowd erupted again. But Madison raised her hand for silence. Don't wait for your viral moment. Don't wait until you're cornered in a parking lot. Start now. Start small. Interrupt the joke that isn't funny. Sit with the kid who eats alone. Document the harassment you see. Be the person who would have helped you. She thought of Jordan, the new student she'd befriended, now student body president at Westfield. Because here's the truth nobody tells you. The bullies aren't actually strong. They're scared. Scared of rejection. Scared of consequences. Scared of a world where their last name doesn't matter. And nothing terrifies them more than someone who isn't afraid of them. Madison took a deep breath for her final words. My name is Madison Hayes. I'm 18 years old. I said no to a bully, and it changed my life. But more importantly, it changed his life, and their lives, and hopefully, yours, because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's pepper spray in your pocket, and the willingness to use it. Thank you. The standing ovation lasted 7 minutes. Madison stood there, no longer the frightened girl against the wall, but not quite comfortable with the hero they'd made her either. She was simply Madison Hayes, the girl who said no and meant it. As she left the stage, her phone buzzed. A message from her father, "That's my girl. Aim, sweep, run, and change the world." Madison smiled. Typing back, "Already did. Dad, already did."